Charleston, Ashmore, Oakland, and Redmond. An area of weak circulation here near Charleston is lifting to the north and east. It's going to clip Newman. It's also going to include Redmond here. I think you can see that rotation a little bit better with some of those reds and greens in there. And we'll be heading eventually off towards Chrisman, areas to the north and west of Paris. This does include Paris in the area there, and that is something that we're watching, and so we're going to keep a very close eye on that. So in that triple box, again, in that top right box, if you can stick in Weather Metrics 3, Seth, add the Charleston camera in that, then I'd like to be able to watch that really closely here as we move on through. This is our first tornado warning of the day, and we welcome our viewers on digital platforms. We are now streaming on our coverage on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on our app. And Adam, if you can let the newsroom know as well, they're going to get some push alerts out for that. We've got the whole team in here 2 times in 1 week, what we're dealing with there, and that's what we're watching. So this particular storm is our first tornado warning of the day. You can see how there's nothing to the south and east of it there, a clear spot that's able to pull in some of that juice and instability that's there. And so that is concerning as it lifts off to the north and to the east, where we're going to be watching and keeping a very close eye on things here. As you can tell, otherwise, that's our only tornado warning. A red box means that this is not a confirmed tornado. Rather, we are seeing rotation evident on radar in that camera there. And if you can there, I think we've got the Springfield camera in that triple box. Weather Metrics 3, you'll have to use the screens, not the rundown, just like you would there you go. Yep, that'll do that. And then we can bring that in because I want to keep a close eye on that Charleston camera. So you can see the top right is Springfield camera looking to the east. Storms are clearing past Springfield. Then we're going to see here, Kevin is on the bottom right. He's to the storm just to the north of that. And that's something that we're going to keep a close eye on here as we move on through. Are we having a little trouble getting that in? Let me try to get that in then.
And it won't let me unless the rundown's done.
Okay, let me try real fast here to stick that into Weather Metrics 3. Are you able to control the Charleston camera?
I don't know if we have it. It keeps saying stream expired, so I don't know if we even have connection to it at the moment.
Gotcha.
Actually, no, we do. It just popped up.
We do? Okay, cool. Let us then, I'm going to switch something here and fix that. Seth, while you're at it, let's pull the radar full here. And Seth, if you can also, just talk real quick about what you're seeing and some of the things that you've been covering.
Yeah, so essentially at the moment, we just kind of have mostly discrete storms, and we've kind of just been watching up to this point to see how those would progress. Of course, we've got our first tornado warning there, just kind of on that storm in the east part of Coles County into Douglas County, eventually over into Edgar County as well. So we're just kind of watching to see as these storms move into a better environment, just kind of how they interact and the kind of developments that they make. And obviously, we've got that tornado warning that's catching our eye at the moment, but also not to be forgotten down to our southeast parts of Jasper, Crawford, even into Clark County. Got another severe thunderstorm warning down there as well. Anytime you notice the kind of black outline boxes, that usually indicates 70+ mile-an-hour wind gust potential with these storms as well. So anywhere that you see those boxes, that's what we are dealing with there at the moment. And we've got another severe thunderstorm warning up in the north part of Macon County into parts of DeWitt County. Just going to kind of zoom in on this tornado warned storm just to see what we can there on the inside of that one once we pull up velocity, just to track where things are. And you can kind of see just that broad center of rotation, just kind of south of Oakland there, keeping an eye on that to see how that progresses here over time. Nothing jumping off the page just yet as far as rotation or tornadic activity on most of these storms, but definitely probably seeing a great deal of at least some lightning and some pretty strong winds as well. If Kevin's camera is any indication of that, we know that is going on for sure. But just kind of watching now that they're in the better environment to see how these are going to progress. Jacob, back over to you.
Perfect. I think we got that camera thing taken care of here. So we will bring that triple box up if we can. I think that's going to work right now because we want to keep our eyes to the storms here. Not only are we watching things here from the studio, you can see there that camera in the top right is the Charleston one, and it may be frozen. That may be what has happened because some of the wind that is out there today. We've had some power outages that have occurred from non-thunderstorm winds, and so that's been a concern for us. I'd like to, if we can, let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lighty. He's in the StormTracker there. Kevin, if you can hear us, I know you're moving east on US 36 right now. You're watching that storm to the north, but are you thinking maybe that southern storm might be something you're going to look at a little bit closer here?
Yeah, I'm probably going to abandon that northern storm and attempt to try to get ahead of this one that's coming up here from basically right behind me. So I'm at 36 and 49 here. I'm between Newman and Hume. And so I'm going to be at the very kind of middle end of that polygon of that tornado warning. And so I'm going to watch that storm kind of lift back to the north and east there. And you can actually see some clearing out ahead of me. So I'm going to be able to kind of have a view where I can look back into that cell here at about probably, 5 minutes or so. So I would definitely check back here with me because I'm going to have a pretty good view of it. But I'm just trying to get back ahead of that. So I've kind of abandoned kind of that northern cell there. I mean, I'm just trying to stay ahead of it. It's such a large cell there with tons of heavy rainfall. I got to tell you, the winds in it were really whipping the car around as I was traveling there on US 36. So, all right, guys, I'll send it back to you for now, but I'm going to get ahead of this and should have a clear view. I'm going to be looking right southwest into that storm here, about 5 or so minutes. So in the storm tracker for right now, as we're in the tornado warning polygon in Edgar County, we'll continue to keep you updated on this. We'll send it back to you for now.
Hey, thanks so much, Kevin. Appreciate your report on the spot there, and we continue to watch that storm. I will say, while Kevin is leaving that northern storm that's now near Broadlands, I still think we need to keep a close eye on that here. Broadlands, Allerton to the north and 49 towards Homer. Eventually, we get to Sidell and Fairmount, Jamaica, Indianola, parts of rural southwestern Vermilion County. Still keep an eye out here, and we'll be watching for you. We see the latest update just came on in. Maybe there's a little bit of rotation trying. More than likely, I think there's some strong winds in that area moving into parts of southern Vermilion County. We're likely to see, I think, a new severe thunderstorm warning come out for areas up in that direction here before long. Let's drop back to our tornado warned storm. Growing more concerned here by the minute as we watch that here. Oakland, the time is running out here for you. There's likely some large hail in this storm here as it moves to the north and east. It's going to be Oakland, then Brockton and Borton. It'll cross 133 really close, if not just west of Oakland. If you know anyone in Oakland or Hinesboro area, send them a text. Let them know, hey, WCIA is on the air, and we're keeping you covered with things here. This is right now not a confirmed tornado warning, but the way things are moving, I see that rotation right on the southwest side of Oakland. They're picking up more and more. It's in the right spot. If we want something to cause some issues, that certainly is the storm that we'll keep an eye on as it moves on through. And so Oakland, Brockton, I'm going to include Newman and Hume on that. We're going to hold off on Chrisman. Chrisman, you're downstream, though. This is going to eventually move towards Chrisman, Ridge Farm, Georgetown, and may clip other parts of southeastern Vermilion County towards Indianola. But you can see that area of rotation that shows up, those greens and reds coming together. What that is a velocity couplet. And when we're watching things here, sometimes that green and red, when they're touching, is an indication that winds are moving in a circular direction. And so that's something that's certainly we're going to be keeping our eye on. I don't want to lose sight on anywhere else here at this point. Obviously, the tornado warning is our greatest concern, but we're still got a couple of other active warnings out there. Our storm up in the Pontiac area, we did get a new severe thunderstorm warning added for far northern Ford and northwestern Iroquois counties. We have a severe thunderstorm warning still in the Clinton area in DeWitt County. I've got some folks on our social media saying we've got some hail in that area. We also have had plenty of hail reports with that storm further to the south and west. Looking okay for Douglas County if you're to the west of Tuscola, west of I-57 for the moment. But this storm here is the one that may be the one that causes some issues for us. And then there's some storms further down towards I-70 here across the region. Let's come on in back to our tornado warned storm. It's moving at a decent clip. Seth, do you have a speed that you've seen on that? To me, it seems like it's picking up progress pretty good.
Let's take a look here at the most recent report, and we'll give it a second here as it loads. And actually, we've just got a confirmation. It looks
they just added now confirmed tornado in the Oakland area from this storm as it moves on through. This is now a confirmed tornado in the Oakland area from this storm as it's moving on through. Radar has confirmed that tornado moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. If you're in Oakland, the time is up here, and we'll come in on our radar. There's that tight couplet showing up here, crossing 133 near or just west of Oakland. As we move on forth, then I'm going to bring up our debris detector, and perhaps that's what they're seeing is that maybe some of the debris. I mean, that's been there for a little while here. To me, it seems like maybe it's right close to. I'm not sure your thoughts on that, Seth, but there is maybe something that's showing up. And if we look at that, I'll bring back to the velocity. It's in the neighborhood there. So at this point, the National Weather Service is treating this as a confirmed tornado now. Northeastern Coles, southeastern Douglas County in the Oakland area. Oakland, your time is up. Brockton, we're considering you. Redmond, heads up for you. Newman and Hume, heads up for you as well as this storm moves to the north and east at 45 miles an hour. At this point, it is just about to be 5 o'clock here. WCIA 3 News at 5 o'clock starts now, and the news is weather. With us now, we've got team coverage for you. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lighty in the StormTracker. He is approaching this storm in the Oakland area now. We've got meteorologist Seth Bohnhoff in here. He's going to give us a timing here in just a second. And Adam Sherwinski, also in the building, is moving around and checking out digital and getting reports for us from this tornado-warned storm, confirmed tornado, according to the National Weather Service in the Oakland area. First off, let's go to Kevin, get another check-in from Kevin here. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lighty, hey, let us know where you are and what you're seeing in that area. Kevin?
I'm between Hume and Metcalf. I'm between Hume and Metcalf here, looking right into that storm, okay? And so this is where we would have something here as I'm looking to the south and west. Okay, Oakland is to my southwest here, but there is definitely kind of a lowering that's trying to show up here, and I'm just gonna kind of move, adjust the storm tracker here a little bit so you can kind of get another view of kind of the whole storm. You can kind of see the structure of it here, and just kind of that lowering that's kind of right there. We're going to watch this lift basically to the north and to the east in our general direction. And so I'm looking right into this. And so right here, maybe I'm going to see if that's something there, kind of zooming in on this to try to get a view. That would be the area that we would potentially have something. So again, guys, really watching that carefully, and that just to my south and west as this storm lifts right here. It's going to cross over 36, which I'm on. And again, just kind of keeping an eye on things. Let me kind of readjust, and I'll come back to you here in just a second, Jacob.
Thank you, Kevin here. We are keeping an eye on that and watching things. First off, we've got Kevin there now, and you can see our camera in Danville, kind of upstream from that. Kevin's going to reposition. I wanted to send it over to Seth real quick to update us more on what he's seeing. He's got a track for it, where the storm is heading, because we want to keep folks safe ahead of this. Seth, what have you got?
Yeah, again, Jacob, as you mentioned, this storm moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. We've just kind of traced the path of where that rotation is, northeast a little bit, to keep an eye on some of the folks in the path of this. Obviously, the Oakland area needs to be where they need to be exactly right now. Places in the path, we've got Brockton, maybe about 5 or so minutes away. Keep an eye there. Hume, 5:17 is when the storm is arriving. If you see your town anywhere on this list, now is the time to start to head to your shelter and get prepared, because this storm is within about 15 minutes at the very least away from you. Metcalf at 5:20, and then into parts of Crispin, potentially closer to 5:30. And just some reminders, if you are in the path of a tornado warning, of course, proceed to your safe place. If you're in a mobile home, if you have time, you got to get out of those mobile homes, because storms like this are going to do some pretty good damage to it. Do not find yourself in your car. And remember, in, down, up, that means get inside, get as far down in your building as you possibly can, and cover up as much as you can. And of course, stay inside until you hear Jacob give you the all clear there on that storm moving on through. And of course, continue to keep an update there on the coverage of everything. So Jacob, those are some of the towns in the path. Back over to you.
Yeah, and while you, Seth, are talking about that tornado warning where you are, we should probably give a little bit of a heads up here for those that are maybe downstream from this. And this conversation is now for far northeastern Edgar County and southern Vermilion County. We might be a half an hour or so from a potential extension from this here. Again, as he was saying, leave your mobile home, seek shelter, charge your phone. We're on our digital platforms right now, and so that's a way that you can stay connected. Pull up your phone, turn your TV volume up, head to your safe spot here, and we're streaming also on our WCIA 3 Weather app. This is going to be for places like Ridge Farm, Georgetown. We're going to include Crispin on that. Indianola, I'm going to put in there. Seidel, I'll put you in there as well. And depending on where this heads, then anywhere on US 36 from Crispin to the west, it might be somewhere else that we have. And so that's where we're going to keep a very close eye on things here. Kevin's out there now. He's kind of getting set up, and it looks pretty ominous. We'll get a report from him here in a second. I do want to mention, though, just kind of other things here. While the tornado deserves our attention, and rightfully so, I love a good bit of good news here. We can call the all clear for the severe weather threat now for Logan, Menard and Sangamon and Fayette counties here. That tornado watch has been cut back for some of our counties. Still have Christian County in it. Still have Macon and Shelby County in it. I feel better about where you're sitting. I think the main risk is to the east, but we're going to keep that watch as kind of our proxy for that here with things moving on through. Real quick, do you want to get into DeWitt County here? I've had a number of folks saying in DeWitt County, there's been some hail in Clinton and Farmers City. This here is between Farmers City and Leroy. To me, this stands out as a wind potential and will carry it to the north and east. It's going to be on the 136 exit at the Empire exit on 74 and between basically Leroy and Farmers City. Moving to the east-northeast, Moraine View State Park sits up here, probably just south of that, but Aerosmith, Saybrook, Bellflower, and eventually Gibson City, likely going to have some at least strong straight line winds coming from that here. You can kind of see that backward C shape here. That's winds that are blowing out. So I don't think that there's necessarily a tornado threat with that, but we could easily get some 60 to 70 mile per hour winds heading in that general direction. That may even include northern Champaign County with a potential extension to the warning. So did just want to give a heads up to those areas with that. Then we check up to the north, northern Livingston, Ford, Iroquois County. You're good. Those storms are moving into Kankakee County, heading up that way. There is a tornado warning in the Chicago metro. The south side there looks like Joliet to the east. That's out of our coverage area, but of note in that general direction. And then we've got this supercell thunderstorm right here in Coles County. Oakland, it's now just to your northeast. Bushton, Charleston, you're all clear. Let's keep Oakland, eyes on that. Brockton, Newman, you're next. And Metcalf, Chrisman, Seidel, up towards Georgetown, Ridge Farm. You're kind of downstream from this as it moves off to the north and east, something we want to keep a really close eye on. Let's give it back to Kevin. If he's able, maybe he's still adjusting things there, kind of getting a view on what he's looking at.
I'm here.
He's in the area. There you are, Kevin. You're in the area of this storm, down by Brockton there. You've been playing around with the focus. What are you seeing? What's going on with our tornado warning there?
Well, I'll tell you, it's really windy here. And so I'm just kind of east of that line. And you can follow this as I kind of pan around. Okay. And you can see the dark skies and kind of the lowering that's along here where we might actually have some inflow into this storm. And so this is looking back to the south and west. And again, just trying to give you guys a little bit of a view of kind of what I'm seeing here. And I just can tell you, it is so windy. And dark skies, we've seen some lightning strikes here, but very ominous looking clouds, and just looking for any kind of a lowering all the way to the ground. But this is going to be crossing US 36 here before too long, where they had that confirmed tornado. And so this is the area that we're definitely kind of concerned about right now, and just kind of watching to see if we see anything a little bit closer to the ground. But as you can see here, this storm that stretches all the way, you can almost kind of pick out kind of that deck of clouds that's right there that stretches all the way back here to my south and west. So I'm going to send it back to you here for right now, Jacob. I'm going to kind of readjust again, but this is the area of concern that is heading in our direction along 36. So definitely take shelter if you're out here right now, because it does not look good in our location here.
All right, thanks so much for that report, Kevin. We'll keep checking in with you. And I did notice, those clouds are low. They're sitting there. Hard to tell. A lot of you have sent us photos and been asking about that haze that's in the sky, some of that dust there today. That dust originated from dust storms down in New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, was lifted our direction. And so that is making things a little murkier, a little bit more hazy here for us as we move on through. Kevin's location right now, he's just east of Hume towards Metcalf. We're watching Brockton. We're watching Hume. We're watching Newman. We're watching Metcalf for this potential tornado moving on through. It's been reported by radar as potentially being on the ground. I haven't seen any official reports of that being the case. I haven't seen any reports of it yet being down with damage or anything like that. But that certainly is something that we're going to have to watch and keep an eye on. I think this is going to be north of Brockton here. And we'll pull the radar up. It's going to be moving pretty close to me. There's Brockton. I think this is going to be near Payne Cemetery and eventually moving towards Hume and Metcalf. Kevin's right up here with his location. And so we'll watch very closely as that moves in that general direction. I'll throw the velocity on here and show you again. You kind of see these reds and greens in here. There certainly is something that is rotating in here. It might not be all that strong, but it certainly is there. And that's why this tornado warning has came out for us as we've been watching a close eye for any of those reports. I have a friend, Nick, in the, let's see here. Nick is saying that he's got There's been some strong rotation from the Oakland area. He did not see a touchdown. He's a buddy of mine down there. It does look like that's about all I've had so far. Have you at all, Seth or Adam, seen any reports, anything like that?
Not yet, no.
So far, just seeing just some hail reports in general. So nothing rotation based or tornadic.
And so that's maybe some good news here. The radar indicated that maybe it was in fact on the ground. I'm not totally convinced. And right now, I'm not totally convinced if it even was underground. It's still down now. There certainly is something going on in this area, but that may be where we continue to, we're talking at this point, the radar is catching the storm at 7,000 feet, and that beam is rather high. So we don't get the best looking at things, but that's why we've got team coverage here with Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lighty out in the StormTracker, and we've got our sky cams for that area. Just did get an extension of the severe thunderstorm warning, and I'll pop that up with radar. This is that supercell thunderstorm moving to the north and east. That severe thunderstorm warning issued ahead of it at this point. I'm sure right now the National Weather Service is thinking, do we issue another tornado warning? Let's go ahead and issue the severe thunderstorm warning first here. And that's going to include places we were talking about: Chrisman, Georgetown, Ridge Farm. It'll carry it even further north, Westville, Danville, even north of Danville towards the airport as the storm moves on through. I'm not sure the storm will get much further north of Danville there, but there is some wind, likely even with these light rain showers in the Oakwood and Danville area. The tornadic part, if that were to continue, to me, seems to be 150 south of the Danville area. And so we'll be watching places south and east of Sidell, south and east of Indianola, south and east of Danville as this carries off to the north and to the east here. Coles County EMA says they are going to be sending some crews out to investigate, see if there's any damage earlier in the Bushton, Rardon, and Oakland areas. Sounds like if they're sending some guys to investigate, maybe they haven't had any reports, but we're going to investigate and try and find things out like that there. So that is certainly something worth mentioning here. Top right of your screen, you see the Danville camera now, really ominous. The storm that just south and west of town might have some strong winds. I'm not concerned about tornado potential in Danville proper at this point. We're more worried where Kevin is down south there. And Kevin's there in the StormTracker. That looks a lot better there, Kevin, with your picture. Let's go ahead and send it back to Kevin. And Kevin, what are you seeing? And what's your latest update for us from the tornado warning?
Yeah, still here just watching this storm here. And so this is kind of the back edge there where we would be looking for something. I just want to show you the whole thing because you can see some of the structure to this thing, and you can see just how much darker the skies are. And so pan back around, a lot of times we kind of look towards, the rain-free base here on the backside where there might be some of that rotation. I'm definitely getting some rising motion. There's a little bit of that rising motion right there in that location that we're looking at. And again, I apologize if my mic has got a lot of wind because obviously it's really windy. But that's the area that we'd be kind of watching for as the storm comes in. I'm just starting to get some kind of a colder wind that is kicking up here. But again, this is still looking pretty ominous. You're going to have, what I'm getting is essentially the downdraft here and some really strong winds on the leading edge of this here. They're going to be kind of picking up. So I'm going to have to get ahead of this here before too long, as you can see, as the storm here is starting to get a little bit closer to me. But the area of concern here on the backside, I don't see anything that's down there right now. But it is close. It's really close, guys. Other chasers, I've seen several other chasers that are out here with us as well along this same road. This is a rural country road out here. But this is the area where we would have something, and I'm keeping an eye on it. We've got the camera trained right on it for you guys, but you can see the whole system here obviously does not look like something you want to mess with, right? So take your shelter, get down there right now, just in case this thing decides to produce. Again, we are in the prime spot where something could occur. I'm seeing a little bit of that rotation here. I got to be honest with you, this area right here, just watching this carefully, guys, is about to come right over the top of us. And look how low this area is right here. You see some of that rising motion that's kind of happening? And a little bit of that is rotating. If you look close, okay, I'm going to try to keep the camera as steady as I can, but that's pretty low to the ground, okay? So this is right on the area that we are concerned about, okay? So, all right, so here's the thing. I'm going to have to reposition my location now here because this thing's about to catch up to me along this road, as you can see. So I'm going to throw it back to you for now, but this is the storm. We're giving the live view of it. That's the area of concern, and it is time for me to book it and get out of here.
All right, thanks for that, Kevin, for that report. We'll keep an eye on you here. We also want to bring the Champaign camera up if we can. And Seth, we've had some viewers that have been messaging about rainbows. Is that right? Have you seen that at all in our Champaign camera?
Yeah, I've not been able to find any on the camera. I know we had one submitted at one point, but you can just even see on the camera. Let me see if I can get it pulled up here on my station over here. We can just kind of take a glance. This is looking off to the east. And this one, once I get it booted in here.
That's Danville there.
This one, there we go. You can see a definite dark blue sky. So if there is kind of that rainbow action going on, you have to have your back to the sun. It's going to be against that very dark backdrop. It's probably going to stick out there very well. That's that storm. This is more looking closer to the Danville area, so not exactly in the tornado-warned portion of that storm, but plenty of rain and probably some hail in there as well. That's the view from Champaign looking off to the east right now. So if you've got any rainbows out there, that's probably the direction to be looking for it.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on those cameras. I would like to as well start to watch that Gibson City camera a little bit more, and maybe we can turn one of our Champaign cameras north. This storm here just got a report of some pea-sized hail in Ellsworth. That shape to me stands out as potentially some strong winds, and so we may see a warning come for Ford County, maybe even Livingston County for some straight-line winds heading that direction. Heads up there for Sibley, Gibson City, even up to Fairbury, Forest, Strawn, potentially further to the north and east along and north of Illinois 54 there towards Melvin, Roberts, and up into the panhandle of Ford County. So we'll keep an eye on that here, but you kind of see that backward shape. When I bring up the wind velocity, nothing stands out to me with this as rotating, but I certainly think that backward C shape shows some strong winds heading in that general direction. So we'll keep an eye on that camera as we move on through. Right now, we can see in the boxes on your screen in Champaign on that top right one. I'll flip that one to Gibson City now just so we can take a peek and look at that. And then on the bottom right is Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lighty. He is in that tornado-warned storm down in parts of Edgar and Coles and Douglas County. And so that is something that we're keeping an eye on here. Real quick, Seth, if you can take over, do a little radar analysis. I'm just getting a phone call, and I want to take this one, and maybe some information for me. So, Seth, we'll take Max one full screen, let you talk for a minute, and I'll be back in a second.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jacob. So what I'm going to do here for a little bit is just kind of go into each of these individual storms, starting, of course, with our tornado-warned one. And what I'm going to do here, actually, let me back out and reset, then go back in here so I can put up my velocity. So what we're going to do, we're just going to kind of take a look at the last 30 minutes or so on our velocity product and just kind of show you what's happening here. And we'll kind of highlight it right in here so you can kind of see where that rotation started off in Oakland, now moving off to the east a little bit. We're kind of watching it. Hasn't exactly necessarily pulsed up. It hasn't really come down too much in the last few scans. So continuing to just monitor that. Aside from that, you see kind of just these brighter colors as we flip on over to the Indianapolis radar now.
Good.
Nothing different there other than the colors just are inverted. The red, the dark red outside of Georgetown there might be indicating some strong winds moving on into town.
Sounds good.
So that is also another thing that velocity helps us out with, is watching those strong winds move on through. Additionally, just kind of scanning across the rest of the area, it looks like most of the rest of these don't really jump off the page, not seeing a whole lot in the way of any kind of rotation or intense winds. And of course, those are kind of in the corners of the area anyway, down here into the Newton and Robinson area as well. So just kind of keep an eye on everything as a whole. Not a whole lot happening outside of just that tornado-warned storm. But as mentioned earlier, there's kind of that dust advisory up here across the north as well. So just kind of some dry land as some strong winds move on up into the northeast corner of the area too, causing some different issues, in this case, reduced visibility. So definitely want to stay safe up that direction. But at the moment, Jacob, just kind of keep an eye on that storm across now heading soon into Edgar County. What are your thoughts there on the latest of that?
Yeah, kind of looking at it here, our initial storm that's been tornado warned is starting to outrun the tornado warning polygon, and so the National Weather Service is going to make a decision here. Is that going to be a new tornado warning, or are they going to let the severe thunderstorm warning carry? But then we've got that storm that's behind it there, and so that's where we got to watch here. This next one coming on, and just keep an eye on it south and west of Oakland. If you can bring me on, please, that'd be great. And this storm here, kind of behind it, there's open, clear air to the south and east, so still maybe some instability that storm can feed on, so we'll watch it. Nothing concerning. The tornado-warned storm is this one right here, but again, see how that's moved out of that pink polygon? Now it's a severe thunderstorm warning. I think that tornado warning goes until 5:30, did it, or 5? Do we have a time in that by chance? Do you remember, Seth?
11 minutes left, so about 5:30.
5:30. So we'll ride it out here, but if the National Weather Service does cancel the tornado warning, then what we'll do is we'll toss to a commercial break. Brandon Moran is in here. He may do a little bit of news. We'll kind of see how things go. We may just carry this through 5:30. We'll kind of assess what's going on here and make that decision on the fly. But just letting folks in the back know kind of what we're thinking here with how things are progressing. I will say, just got a call, former WCIA intern Lucy Crable. She's down in the Oakland area. She said that earlier she had some family that had spotted a funnel cloud at that, but didn't have any confirmed tornado from their vantage point. So that's what I took that phone call for. Appreciate her, our viewers. In fact, there goes that tornado warning. They just dropped it and canceled it there. So no more tornado warning in effect here for Douglas, Edgar, or Coles County. It has been dropped. We're now looking at a severe thunderstorm warning for southern Vermilion and northern Edgar County, including Chrisman, Seidel, Georgetown, Jamaica, even up into Danville there. We're going to maybe just ride this out for a little bit. And Seth, I'll let you kind of cover some storm reports here in a bit. I think we may just take this 5 o'clock show. Brandon saying we may just take that there. Looking at radar here, there is still some broad rotation within this storm. That stands out to me. Nothing stands out as imminent or concerning with that. But we're going to watch that closely. We can sometimes see maybe things spin up a little bit more, and that could be something that we're just going to monitor for the next 5-10 minutes because we want to continue to think that Danville area, Georgetown, Westville, up towards Tilton, Ridge Farm, where this is heading. Looks like to me, Fairmount, Seidel, Jamaica, perhaps the strongest winds are now moving past you here. But as this moves across the Indianola area, I bet it's a rough time down in Indianola from that particular storm. And so we will watch that really closely here. I saw a new severe thunderstorm warning just pop up. Let me make sure I've got my ducks in a row here. That's that Livingston-Ford County one here, where they have included, kind of mentioned here, 60-mile-an-hour winds, maybe some small hail with both of those. We've got McLean County, the eastern part of the county, and then we've got Livingston and Ford County added to that here. And that's going to be for 60-mile-an-hour wind. Hail smaller than quarters expected. It's mainly for the wind. And that does stand out to me. Maybe we need to check in on our Gibson City camera, so why don't we switch Weather Metrics 3 here. I'll just pop that back over here. Oh, we got it up as Gibson City there. Eventually that storm's going to move on through. I think the strongest wind is probably going to be more of a Sibley issue in Ford County. I don't think there's going to be a tornado threat with the storm moving that way, but you get 60-mile-an-hour winds, that can still cause some problems there. And Gibson City, still in that warning. Elliott, Garber, Guthrie, we've got Melvin, Sibley, up towards Roberts, and eventually north towards Piper City in that severe thunderstorm warning there. And so that is something that we'll keep an eye on here with that storm moving to the north and to the east. Let's reset here. To me at this point, if something is going to happen, I think it's that southern Vermilion County. Perhaps, and maybe I shouldn't say it, but we could scrape through, Seth, I'm not sure your thoughts. If we can get this line of storms out here, that's good news. Real fine line that we're watching here. Seth, do you kind of agree with that thought process?
Yes, excuse me, Jacob. The trajectory of those storms hopefully kind of making its way off to the east, just because as they pass on through and with any kind of potential storms extending off the south, they're just kind of taking the instability with them a little bit. On the kind of west side of these storms, we actually have some much more cooler, more stable air. So if we could just kind of get these things to push off to the east just a little extra there, kind of get it over into the Indiana area, then our threat kind of comes down. Can't rule out some of these storms here on the backside, and obviously things are going to stay windy regardless of any sort of warnings. But I would completely agree. If that line just kind of moves off to the east without too much more action happening, I think that is definitely what we are hoping happens here.
It's been really weird because we've been dealing with a dry line today. Typically with dry lines, you expect that to be Texas, Oklahoma. Yeah, Adam's talking about that. We're kind of like, dry lines are pretty strong. That tells you how strong the system is. But that dry line it's just like a cold front. But instead of having warm and cold air, you've got humid and dry air in place. And so it's been moving in. And that's something where sometimes we have to watch things pretty closely with that. I am kind of keeping my eye on that southern storm here. We see those storms looking more individual. And there's a storm here. We've got the next storm up in Vermilion County. That lends to that tornado threat perhaps being a little bit higher with that. The storm further north, more of a backward sea, that's a wind threat into Ford, Livingston, perhaps eventually Iroquois County. There is in the far northern part of Iroquois County, north of Clifton, up by Chavans. The Casey's gas station there is a great stop on your way to Chicago there, and that's going to include Kankakee. There's probably some really strong winds and perhaps maybe something up that way. So Clifton, Shabans, we're going to watch pretty closely here. I think that's moving north and east. So very small window of opportunity there as well. Adam, you got something?
We just got from one of our producers that we are hearing a double audio from Jacob. This is our morning producer. He's watching on the WCIA news app. So double audio, and that's just one of the things you might have to watch out for. So just letting you know.
That's probably because we have this right here. We'll turn that off, and we're just running the program feed there. And so that should be fixed now, I think. Thanks for our producers kind of watching to make sure that's good. That's that storm to the north we were just talking about here, and keeping an eye on things. So we got about 5 minutes, so a little bit less than that. And that's something that so we'll continue to check. I do want to real quick, let's go ahead. I'm going to bring that Skycam full here and do a quick check in Gibson City. And it looks like I have broken it, but I'm going to look and see there may be some dust that's trying to blow ahead of there. And so let's see here, because that storm is getting close to Gibson City there. So we'll see that, I think, here coming up on Max 2 in a second. Looks like to the left there on the screen, you kind of see that faded, murky, kind of, it almost looks hazy, I'd say. Wouldn't you agree, Seth? That haziness is that dust, I think, that's been kicked up.
Yeah, kind of almost just got that kind of milky, smoky look. And if we want to pull up Max 1 graphics here just real quick, looking at visibility across the area, definitely a noticeable difference in the northeast corner of the area. So probably seeing some of that drier air kind of leading to some of that dust being tossed around up that direction. So yeah, kind of had that look to it all day. Just very, very ominous here for Central Illinois to see kind of the dust-filled air, almost the red sky at one point in time, something we don't see all too often. But yes, it looks like the visibility on our local stations is definitely reflecting the possibility of some of that blowing dust being here somewhere in the area as well. So yeah, we're not just watching the storms, Jacob, but lots of other stuff going on here too that we typically don't see in Central Illinois.
All right, so yeah, that blowing dust advisory that's been up there has been an issue as well. Okay, Kevin's here now. We want to go back to Kevin down there in the StormTracker. You're on that storm still that's moving into southern Vermilion County, I think, Kevin. What's the latest update you have for us?
Yeah, so I was still on 36 there and going east there towards Chrisman. I actually turned back around to head actually back west there just to kind of watch that other little cell that's down there, basically where we had the rotation earlier with the previous cell that came through. So I'm going to be looking back towards the Boom area once again, and then that cell that's down there just to the basically coming into Newman there. So I'm just kind of making my way back in that direction to see if there's anything there, but again, not seeing a whole lot. But that storm up there in Vermilion County is still looking pretty good. That's coming through kind of Georgetown and Ridge Farm right now, but definitely it's a little bit colder out here. Our temperature is definitely fallen back down into the low 60s. So again, just watching, there's a lot, if you look out there, there's actually a lot of this kind of lowering that you'll see of those clouds. But this is not of something that is too much of a concern, at least at this point. But we've got our eyes on it, and we're keeping an eye on things here for you tonight. And just watch, like you said, Jacob, I think that if we can just get this little back edge to come through, we're going to be done with this, and hopefully can kind of go through, like you said, unscathed for the most part. I've heard about a couple of wind damage reports and a few wind gusts out there, possibly a power pole down up around Fisher by a banks up there. So that's kind of what we're looking at here right now, guys. We'll continue to keep you updated on this. I know you guys are kind of wrapping up here on the newscast, but obviously if we don't have any other warnings and whatnot, we'll probably throw it back to national news. Things here. So I'll send it back to Jacob for now. Let you guys kind of analyze things. Again, I'm just watching this storm that's back out here to my south and west, and that's kind of the view of it. Obviously doesn't look as ominous as the last one did, but we'll continue to keep you updated and let you know if we see anything else.
Sounds good, Kevin. Real quick, what I want to do is just give a last heads up here. Kind of watching that storm near Gibson City, right northwest of town there. Maybe some issues with that. What we're going to do is we're going to keep our coverage moving on digital platforms. We'll go to CBS National News here, and that will wrap things up for us on TV at this point. I'll have another update at 6. In the meantime, join us on digital platforms as we continue to move these storms, and we'll be back if necessary.
Should still be good on
Should be good.
digitals.
Okay, now we're on digital platforms. We've gotten off TV. I tell you what, looking at that storm north of Gibson City.
Keeping an eye on. There's some gusty winds.
Yeah, there's some gusty winds with that as it's moving on through.
I don't know if anyone said anything. We did get a storm report, thunderstorm wind damage from Oakwood, Vermilion area, Vermilion County. Semi-truck turned over on I-74 in Oakwood. So there's a picture on social media.
There's been quite a bit of that damage that we've had.
Okay,
what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to pull the sky cam up in Gibson because kind of looking at that, I think there's going to be some pretty strong winds crossing 47 now. That's just north of town. You can see that rain coming on in here. And lights look like they're still on. I see the middle school there has the lights still on at this point, and that's some good news. But we might just kind of sit and watch this here. The nice thing about digital coverage is that we don't have to be so formal. We don't have to be so proper and whatnot. We can kind of slow things down a little bit and talk more about that. And that's why we're going to keep coverage. There's the rain coming on there. Do you want to bring that full so folks can watch that there, Seth? I think that rain, maybe even a little bit of hail perhaps trying to sneak on into the Gibson City area. Nicole's just commenting that there's some hail in Gibson City right now. If you've got a size, we do like that and appreciate that. So that's something that we, let us know the size relative to a coin, different things like that. That's right on 47 between Sibley and Gibson City there with that rain coming on in and perhaps some wind as well. That severe thunderstorm warning is in place. Going to call all clear for McLean County at this point. All clear for McLean County. This is a Livingston and Ford County. Eventually could be an Iroquois County issue with that particular storm. But I still think we need to watch that storm down south there. Kevin turned around and for good reason. And so we've got a couple of areas in play here and this window of opportunity where we got those dew point values that have been climbing and whatnot. So there's Kevin right now in the storm tracker. We'll go to him maybe here in a second and kind of keep an eye on things. What I want to do is show radar. Are you kind of seeing what I'm seeing, Seth, in that storm to the south? And that one he turned around to, there might be perhaps a little bit of broad, weak rotation showing up there southeast of Newman. That's going to be close to the 3649 interchange. And so that is what we're going to keep an eye on here. Okay, hail P size, maybe a little bit larger being reported in Gibson. Up in Sibley and Melvin, there's some hail being reported. I'm seeing some of those messages come on in. It's probably some dark cloud cover in that storm. And this storm here, you kind of see what I'm looking at there, Seth?
Yeah, just kind of that appendage on the kind of the southwest side outside of the actual warning box. Just kind of watching because anytime something develops on the south end of a storm, it's kind of free to, absorb the environment without much interruption. So just kind of have to pay attention to those kind of storms to see what potentially could mount back up out of them. So nothing crazy off the page yet, but it's enough to, like we've been saying, keep an eye on it, see if there's any further development here as scans continue on.
And I'm kind of looking as well to the radar. I think that storm in Vermilion County is starting to ramp back up a little bit here. The time is running out for it in Illinois, but you kind of see the same thing. I switched to the Indianapolis radar, and you got the greens going towards and the reds going away. This might be an issue for some of our West Indiana counties, areas just south and east of Danville, Lynch Road, Westville, some of those areas. You kind of see what I'm looking at there as well, Seth?
Yep. I'm seeing the exact same kind of thing. Even popped up the Danville camera just to see if anything's kind of rolling in town. They're not a whole lot yet, just the left side of the screen. Let me see if I can get that pulled up here for the folks.
Yeah, and that's going to be the Vermilion County, Vermilion River, southeast of Danville, where that's heading. So we'll see if they do anything with that. I know they're watching it, and we are too. That'll be down towards like the Westville Sportsman's Club, Union Corner, United Methodist Church. We'll put that there on the Lynch Road exit, south of the casino, Belgium, places like that. There's a lot of folks that live out there, and Grape Creek, places like that, where we kind of keep an eye on it. Hobbuck Road perhaps might be an area to watch. So it'd be interesting to see how that evolves for us here as it moves on through. This is an area where we have tough time with radar coverage, though. It can be really difficult to get a good view of radar because when you're far away from the radar like we are here, that radar beam is 7,000 feet up. And so that can be an issue for us where, we're not getting the best view of that. So I switched over to the Indianapolis radar. Did get a message power out west of Danville on 150 by the old Diamond Grade School. Folks are saying hail and heavy rain and wind in Tilton. Hail in Westville, places like that where we've got this storm moving on through. And then we're just going to keep an eye on that other storm as well. I'm kind of flipping between radars here. Let's check out that Newman storm. It's pretty weak. It doesn't look all that impressive, but that is something where we'll keep an eye on as it moves on through and keep an eye as it kind of heads in that direction behind it there. And so far, I mean, I don't know if our dew points got to that 57 number. We were maybe a degree or two shy.
Looks like Champaign only got to 54.
54.
Let me check
That's
some
probably
other
the difference
stations.
with this year because the wind shear profiles were really impressive. And we had that tornado watch come out because of that. We came close a couple of times. I tell you what, in the Peoria area, some of the storm reports, I'll pull that graphic up real quick. And let's see here. I'll pull the storm reports, Seth. You can kind of watching here. You know, look at all those red icons that are there between Bloomington, Peoria, and off towards Canton. A number of tornado warnings there, right?
Yep. That's kind of where a lot of the action was earlier, and kind of for the most part avoided any kind of situation like that. No, we had that confirmed tornado at one point, that radar indicated one, but aside from that, haven't seen a whole lot of that. Similarly here in our area. One thing I do want to point out, Jacob, I'm not sure if this was reported earlier when we were on, but that wind report just southeast of Sullivan, that was from a train spotter. That was 73 miles an hour. So that was a thunderstorm wind gust of 73 plus. So that's probably one of the biggest things that we've seen so far up to this point. And there you go, at about 4 o'clock.
That's when we knew these storms had some wind energy in there. A lot of that wind shear aloft and things like that. So, we've had some severe weather.
One other thing, if I can note here, I just kind of scanned the power outage page. No one jumping off the page except McLean County's got 3,100 without power. And I know Brandon was trying to tell us earlier about 1,200 without power in the Bloomington area due to thunderstorm winds via their EMA earlier. So kind of the McLean County area with the most outages at the moment. We'll, of course, see if that changes as some of these other storms still have some time to go.
I tell you what, look at these storms here, and you might check the NWS chat in Chicago for Iroquois and Kankakee County. That's probably going to be a developing tornado east of Kankakee in the Moments area. And there's these little knots and kinks in northern Iroquois County that we might have to keep an eye on here. And so that will be something that we have to monitor pretty closely for the northern part there. I think that window of opportunity is diminishing for our viewing area. That's probably more of a Kankakee County issue. Still going to be really interested here just east of Danville now. I mean, it's maybe a mile or two from the state line where that other little area of rotation is showing up. And then down by Newman here at 36 and 49, it don't look like much at this point, but we'll keep an eye on it. And then I'm still going to watch those storms south by Robinson. I know Robinson's had some tough hits, but this storm seems to be scraping on by, which is some good news. Is Kevin calling for us?
Sounds like it, yep.
Is that what he's doing? Let's go to Kevin real quick and see. There's Kevin's shot up. You got his microphone up there as well?
Be ready to go, yes.
All right, Kevin, go ahead and talk to us what you're seeing.
Well, you were talking about that area there. That's basically at 36, 49 there. And that's what that is right here. I'll try to focus it there. But just, that's that area where if you look real close, there's a little bit of very, very broad rotation. But this kind of looks to the backside of that storm and then as we zoom out here, then we look where it's a lot darker. That's over there towards Vermilion County with that storm up there. But this is that back edge. You can almost kind of see some of the rain shafts there. That this is looking towards Metcalf and eventually kind of up towards the Seidel area. But that's what we've got here. I just want to give you one last little shot here of this before I decide to kind of move and see if there's anything else. It's kind of the last hurrah here with this kind of back edge, but nothing of significance. And I got to tell you, this feels a lot cooler as that storm's kind of passed through. But this is kind of what we're watching out here for you right now. And we'll continue to keep you up to date. Again, I'm on 36 here, just west of Chrisman. And that is kind of the back edge of that little storm there. That does not look as impressive on radar as it once did a little bit earlier. But there's the view for you guys. We'll let you continue the coverage, and I'll keep an eye on this and just follow it as it goes to the northeast towards the Georgetown and Ridge Farm area, right behind the other cell that's already kind of moved through. So that's a report out here for now. I'll tell you this, I'm getting a lot of bugs out here, a lot of bugs next to the fields and starting to come out, which is always interesting.
All right, thanks for that, Kevin. Yeah, I mean, it's already spring, right? That's certainly something to have. Okay, we just got a new tornado warning for Kankakee and Iroquois County. Adam, run back to control and let them know we need to be on air. We're going to jump back on TV here for a tornado warning in Iroquois County here. So we're going to kind of reset things and stand by, and that will be what happens here in a minute. And that's going to be the far northern parts of the county, but we're still going to do a quick cut in there. Kind of like what we were talking about there, Seth, with that. So there is the tornado warning that's in place. Is the 5 off? Are we on? Be ready to switch from 5 to
Yes.
6.
Yep. Ready to go. I've got
And
our.
I think probably our mics are echoing is what's happening.
Okay. Yep. We'll take care of that here.
When we're close to each other there. So we'll get the control to get us back on here in a second for this tornado warning in northern Iroquois County. I don't know if we'll be on long for it, but it's there, and we want to cover that. So go ahead, if you're on digital platforms, go ahead and stand by, and we will have updates here in just a minute. This is going to be for northern and eastern Iroquois County here. We were kind of talking at the end of the 5:30 here, the end of the 5 o'clock hour, where that area looks kind of suspicious and whatnot. That new tornado warning is going to be the far northeastern part of the county. This is well north of Watseka. This is to the north and east of Ashcombe here. Really, I think the main concern for that is in the Papineau and the St. Anne area. And I know that's a little area kind of showing up on the county line there. So I don't think we're going to deal with this for all of that long, but we're going to keep an eye here. You can kind of see a couple of these areas of rotation here. There's Illinois Route 1. Iroquois County is here. That's Kankakee County. Right there, a little area of circulation showing up. Another one kind of in this area near St. Anne, moving off to the north and to the east. And there's been some little kinks trying to show up further down the line here. There's Donovan. You've got Hooper up here. And is this area now north of 24? I mean, this is well north and east of Gilman, Onarga, Ashcombe, Clifton. This is north of Watseka, north of Sheldon. Going to be kind of from, say, Martinton areas to the north and east. And this storm system moving pretty quickly out there. There may be a tornado right on the northwest side of Papineau here on Route 1, moving to the north and east, or at least a developing tornado up in that direction here. And that's something that we are going to keep a very close eye on. Further up the line, I'm real interested there. Mummins area, that circulation, that's in Kankakee County. I know we probably have some folks that are watching us in up that way. I did get a report of some large hail in the Trans area. And Heather, if you can let us know the size of that in the area, that would be great. The tornado is east of Trans. If you're on I-57, you're all clear. This is now Route 1 to the east. This is going to be north of US 52 from Donovan up towards the Ashcombe area, kind of in this part of the county. Beaverville, Papineau, Martinton, and in the far northeastern part of the county here. That'll eventually be heading towards the Willow Slaw, where that is heading. And so that's what we're watching. And I can hear Kevin in my ear, so I'm going to cut him out just so we can keep going here. Areas that are up there, going to be the Iroquois County State Wildlife Area, the Willow Slaw. That sits in the Indiana County side of the state line up in Iroquois County. It'll be the Pinewood Hunting Club is up there. And the Hideout, let's see. The Hideout Bar and Bait is up that way where this potential area is heading. So we are in that fringe area with this tornado warning, but we've got folks that are up there and want to keep an eye on things here for the area. Let's really quick kind of reset area wide because we still have other active severe thunderstorm warnings. I'm Jacob Dickey here. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lighty is out in the StormTracker. He's down south of Danville, kind of watching some storms that way. We've got Seth in the studio here. Adam is in the studio here, kind of watching things now. Severe thunderstorm warnings for Ford and Iroquois counties. That's mainly for wind. We don't see much at this point that indicates there would be tornado there, but there may be some hail. In fact, I had a large number of reports come in from southwestern Ford County of some hail out of the storm as it moved on through. The leading edge of that wind and hail now getting pretty close here to places like Roberts, Piper City, and a little cell there as well towards Chatsworth, moving to the north and east with some other thunderstorm activity sitting over Buckley, Onarga, Gilman, Crescent City, Watseka, Sheldon. Those areas not under a tornado warning, but still could be some hail and wind that comes your way from that storm to your south and west. We'll drop down to the south here because we cover these other storms. Some good news, perhaps, for Vermilion County. That storm that's south of Seidel looks a lot weaker. Kevin's out there now, and we might be able to get him on a triple box to kind of peek at things there, because this shot is up. You can see it there kind of in the bottom right. We've got the Gibson City camera on the top right, and we were watching that as some of that heavy rain came on down. Perhaps we'll switch here, Seth. I'm going to switch Weather Metrics 3 to the Danville camera, because a number of folks have been saying there's been hail in the Danville area, some hail coming through with that storm. And now you can see that's our view from Danville. That's looking west. The storm is behind that camera up there. That's a severe thunderstorm warning. And we've gone ahead and added western Indiana counties into that severe thunderstorm warning. Covington, Petersburg, up towards Attica, places like that, as it continues to move off to the north and east. As it gets over further and further there, past Attica, we really don't cover things that further out. And that's good news here. We can get this storm out of here. There's been some suggestions that things might ramp up a little bit as it crosses the state line. Looking down here for southern Edgar and Clark County, those storms now across the state line. So that's good news there. Terre Haute and down to the south towards Robinson. We've gotten those storms over there, and our friends down there are watching it. Do, however, have a new severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Shelby and Christian counties. And this is a little interesting here because we're now far behind the line with this. There's kind of these little storms that are popping up here. I don't think, and Seth, you might be able to kind of give me some thoughts on what you're looking on with Max 1 here. I don't think that this is going to be a tornado event with these storms, but maybe that dry line, that front is starting to sweep through, kind of forcing things up and giving us the threat for some of that. What do you think, Seth?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's happening, just because this particular storm really isn't in the greatest environment. The fact that something probably had to lift to give that a go there in the first place, but just kind of watching it, not overly concerned for anything. Probably going to be maybe some strong winds briefly within that storm, maybe a little bit of lightning here and there too, as we just pop up our lightning counter. And you can see probably just within the last 15, 20 or so minutes, that storm kind of went from nothing to something. So we'll kind of watch out for it. We've been kind of more concerned with that far east line, just because it's got an unstable environment kind of ahead of it. Now that that line is passed on through, places like where this storm is, just kind of not the best place for it to continue to intensify. Maybe it's here at this severe thunderstorm level, might be kind of where it plateaus. We'll see. Probably going to be more of a wind thing here or a lightning thing after a while, but not at the top of our concerns, even though it's just kind of exploded here within the last 20 or 30 minutes, Jacob.
Yeah, I think it's something that we definitely have to keep an eye on. And I'm kind of looking on radar velocity. You see the radar on the screen now. That is reflectivity. Now this is velocity. Reflectivity tells you the intensity. Velocity more tells you the way storms are moving and potential with rotation there. There's been a number of reports coming out. I suspect we're going to get some more severe thunderstorm warnings here. I've seen a number of reports, Seth, come in of large hail in Taylorville, and now we just got a quarter-size hail in the southwest part of Macon County. So we'll probably see that come on in. And as I'm looking here, if I look really closely at the Blue Mound area, maybe, Seth, you can turn the Decatur camera to the south and west. The angle that comes up just makes me a little suspicious. I don't want to rule it out. I think the conditions are unfavorable. But again, I don't want to rule it out with potential for some rotation maybe coming in that direction. So we'll keep an eye on that. We're going to watch that. You can see here, there's our Danville camera. I'll switch that Weather Metrics 3 while you're turning it, Seth, to Decatur, and we'll get a peek at that. And if need be, we can bring that more full screen. You can kind of see there, that's Decatur. Getting a little bit of a look there on that top right part of your screen. But at this point, kind of peeking at that there, Seth, nothing stands out to me. I mean, I think those bases are perhaps a little bit more elevated, and that's probably some good news for us. But there still is going to be some wind and some hail with that. Quarter-size hail reported in the Macon County area, Mount Auburn Road and Nevada Road from the storm further to the south and west. So you can kind of see there, that Decatur camera. I'll bring that banner full here, and you kind of get a view of that. That's pretty elevated. And when I mean elevated, the base of the storm sitting really high up, which maybe is what we want if we want to keep that tornado potential lower. There's going to be some strong wind. There's going to be some hail moving through with that storm as it continues to head in that direction. Seth, your thoughts?
Yeah, kind of exactly what I was thinking as well. Talked about better environment. That's kind of what I mean. The surface-based portion of the instability, maybe not quite there as much as the storms earlier. So that should kind of help to keep it a little more elevated. Obviously, with elevated storms, you still have things to watch for, mainly wind and hail. But looking like hopefully this will keep us away from any sort of rapidly intensifying rotation. Maybe something kind of looks good for just a moment. But I think the fact that these are more elevated, and as you mentioned, the higher cloud bases, I think that should kind of keep us in the clear. But we'll continue to keep an eye out for it, obviously, as some of those storms have started to fire up west of that main line. But thinking with the environment the way it is, potentially is going to keep us away from anything that we may have seen earlier, Jacob.
Yeah, and of course, we're going to keep on right now because we came back during CBS National News because of the tornado warning in Iroquois County. And that's in the far northeastern portion of the county there. You can see on radar, this is centered well northeast of Watsika. We're out in the corner edge of the county, but I know we've got some loyal viewers in that direction that are keeping an eye on things here. I see that new tornado warning there, Terre Haute, and in West Indiana. We'll come to that in a second. They just trimmed that back. It's pretty much Beaverville, north and east towards the Hideout Bar up there in far northeastern Iroquois County. If you've ever heard of that, you pretty much got to get to the edge of the viewing area up there in the far northeast corner, and before you fall off into Indiana, that's where that is. That's up there in that general direction. That probably also moving out of the area here. On the flip side, look what's happened just to the east of Danville. A tornado warning now just been issued for parts of Warren and Fountain County, Indiana's. That's the storm we were watching trying to strengthen as it came through the Danville area. Look at that rotation showing up a lot better there north of Covington as it moves to the north and east. That's going to head towards Logan and Attica, really right up the river there to the north and east. And eventually, I think that heads towards Lafayette. The Purdue campus of Purdue is over that way. And so just some folks around here, I know we're all Illinois fans, but there's probably some folks watching who have some family in Lafayette, Indiana, attending Purdue University. If that's the case, you might just give them a heads up. Say, hey, keep an eye on that local weather because that tornadic storm heading in that direction, and that's something that we can see. Let's go ahead and bring me back full here real quick, and I'll kind of point out what we're looking at. Again, this is north and east of Danville. Danville sits right here. When we look, it's past Danville. Wireless emergency alerts may have gone off in eastern Vermilion County in the Danville area potentially because those are based on cell towers and where you're connected. So Gavin in our chat online is saying, I just got a tornado warning in Danville on my phone. What's going on here? Those wireless emergency alerts are not specific to you. They're specific to the cell tower that you're attached to. So we got some folks probably out in Lynch Road sitting there where their cell phone is pinging on a tower more to the north and east. And that's why the warning came out there in eastern Vermilion County. At this point, Danville, you're good. You're all clear. This is not a concern for that area there. You might want to pull the Terre Haute camera up because I think they've got a confirmed tornado down there as well. Do we have any cameras looking at that? Looks like there's further to the south there. That second storm that came out of Robinson, now a confirmed tornado in the Terre Haute area, moving to the north and east. I know our sister station, WTWO, Jesse Walker down there, he's going to be on the air and watching that. So we've probably got some folks who are watching on TV, keeping an eye on him. They do a great job down there and with that coverage. I'll be interested to hear more about that there, Seth, as well. But that's something to keep an eye on. And then, I think you were flagging me down, we added more severe thunderstorm warnings here for DeWitt, Macon, Shelby, Moultrie, Piatt counties because of that hail and that gusty wind threat that's moving on through. And that even includes eastern Christian County as part of that there. And even the far eastern part of Logan County. Really, we got to draw a line from Atlanta up in Logan County to Mount Pulaski, down to Mount Auburn to the east, and down along US 51 there for places like Assumption and Moequa with those severe thunderstorm warnings coming on through. That's something to keep an eye on. And really back here, I don't think there's any issue at this point. I think we're all done in Lincoln, Springfield, Petersburg, Jacksonville, Virginia, places like that, and Carlinville. Really, it's this line ahead that we have to watch. There's your tornadic storms here. Looks like they just got across the Indiana state line and flared up. And I am okay with that here. We still going to keep an eye on things there. And I'm just seeing some updates. Some updates come in from the National Weather Service. Let's see what Indianapolis is saying. Those tornado warnings there. Iroquois County still does have that sliver of the northeast part of the county. Basically Beaverville north and east. I saw someone was up at the fire department watching there. They're on our digital platforms watching, and if there's anything that happens, they'll let us know. It looks like there was a tornado that touched down near Sky King Airport north of Terre Haute with that storm right there. And so if we've got these tornado warnings that start to pop a little bit more here, we can kick them out of here. I'm okay with that, Seth. I think you probably would agree with that. But we still do have other storms that are in the area, and you've also looks like you've been kind of watching some of the sky cams as well. Tell me more what you're seeing.
Yeah, just kind of combing around, particularly just watching the Decatur cam at this point as well, just because we're starting to see maybe some windy storms going in there. Also, just kind of keep an eye on that Terre Haute cam. Can't really make out much. You can definitely tell there's a storm moving through town there, but really not much else going on in that camera. But yeah, just kind of watching the Decatur cameras. Maybe some wind starts to kick up there before too long back across the central part of the area.
And then that one there, that camera, is that?
I believe that's still southwest facing.
Which camera do we have up here on the screen? Is that going to be Terre Haute?
That was the Terre Haute camera.
That's the Terre Haute one. I think those look to the south and west. So that tornado is probably behind at that point. Yeah, so that seems to be what we're dealing with. We do have Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lighty, who's out there as well in the StormTracker. I don't know if Kevin can hear us. Let me turn on so I can hear him. Kevin, Are you out there? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
You looks like you're seeing.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can see. It looks like you're seeing some sunshine. Kevin's on the bottom right there. Looks like maybe you're heading to the west there, maybe returning back, or are you watching the storms further to the west of you towards places like Decatur and Clinton, places like that? What are your thoughts?
Yep. Yeah, I decided to just go ahead and shoot back west on 36 here. So I am going to be coming past Newman now. So I'll head towards Tuscola there and just kind of see what that line. I'm thinking that line's probably got some hail in there. You kind of get on the backside, there's cold core, and you can probably get. This is one of those where you throw some hail down and it can pile up pretty good, decent hail maker. So I'm thinking that's maybe what some of those warnings are for. Maybe some gusty winds there, but I'm just gonna trek back here west on 36, head back there towards Tuscola and Atwood. Maybe try to see what that storm is doing as it kind of lifts there through Decatur, then may eventually lift towards Bement and Monticello in that area there, and maybe just kind of watch and see what it does. Obviously, not seeing the same kind of atmosphere that we had earlier. My temperature is down to 57 where I'm at here, quite a bit cooler than I was at 70 degrees earlier, and so now we're down. I will say this, and it was kind of during a chaotic time when I was coming through Tuscola, but I wouldn't report it as wind damage. But if you were watching my camera, when I was coming right through there on US 36 through Tuscola, where they got some construction barrels there, they had some of those barrels got blown over, and even like one of the little arrow the arrow signs that they use to point you over there. Noticing the workers right as that storm was coming through, they had some pretty good winds that must have rolled through. Those orange barrels were all over the place. They were doing their best to kind of clean those up. So I'm headed back in that general area, and again, I'm going to watch this line as that new severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect. And we'll just kind of see. We'll try to investigate what's going on there with those storms. I'll probably meet up with them once they get to probably the Atwood area is what I'm guessing. It's probably going to be close to the time frame that I'm going to get there. So we'll be watching out for that. In the meantime here, guys, I'll just go ahead and send it back to you guys there in the studio here from the storm. I mean, I've got the sun that's out. I've been on the look for rainbows out here, but here's the thing. We've still got this back line, and I'm going to meet up with it here probably in the next half hour, and we'll just let you know what we see from that. But for the most part, things calming down in this general area right on the Edgar and Douglas County line. Back to you in the studio.
All right, thanks so much, Kevin. And we can see kind of in the distance, you can see the top of those clouds pretty quickly. That's going to shade that sun there before all is said and done. It's real hard to make up, but if you look to the sun down there, you can barely see that be the case. All right, I think what we're going to do is perhaps we'll take a commercial break, I think, here. And let me get to where I can hear my producer in the back. If you guys can chat with me as well, I'll turn on the studio feed in my ears here. I think what we're going to do is here, before the show starts, we'll take a commercial break, kind of restart the things. And is that what we want to do in the back? I can hear you, Demario? Perfect. Let's just at 1 minute here. We'll dump out in a minute because I think that tornado threat is clear. I think that tornado threat is wrapping up in Iroquois County. We still have some severe thunderstorm warnings. So what we'll do is we'll reset, take a commercial break here in a minute, and then we will have some updates on those current severe thunderstorm warnings. Still have a number of them. Perhaps our tornado threat is carrying now into the Indiana side of the state line. But you can see here, there's still been some reports of some hail and some wind and things like that. So that is what we're going to keep an eye on here for a little bit. It's 5:58 now. We've got 30 seconds left before we toss it to a commercial break here. I'm Jacob Dickey. We've got Adam Sherwinski, Seth Bohnhoff, and we've got Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lighty in the studio. We're going to keep you updated. Don't go anywhere. The 6 o'clock news will start momentarily. We'll have updates on where storms are, the latest on warnings, some damage reports, and much, much more. That's all a part of WCIA 3 News at 6 o'clock, which will start after this.
WCIA3 forecast first, sponsored by Route 66 Solar.
Well, it's just after 6 o'clock here, and we are starting our newscast at 6 with some severe weather still moving through the area now. Watching some severe storms come in Decatur. There's been some quarter-size hail reported in the last half an hour in parts of Macon County as those storms roll on through. That's a look at satellite and radar now. Some of these supercells are really ramping up as they cross the state line. A number of tornado warnings over there. We do have just some severe thunderstorm warnings with that last little line moving on through. Check out our temperatures. 54 in Jacksonville, 46 in Watseka. It's 69 in Effingham here. A little bit of mix all over. Perhaps what has spared us from a worst day is that moist air. Those dew points were maybe a degree or two shy from having issues in the area. And you'll see here the wind's still out of the south, but some changes will come to that here as we go into tonight. And I think the wind is going to pick up here where folks are clear from severe weather. Those strong winds are over 50 mile an hour here with those gusts in places like Springfield and Jacksonville. So even as a storm threat passes here, we may still have some issues. By tonight, it's on the table. Some of us, if we're up late enough, are up out the door early tomorrow. There could be a little snow flying in the sky with some colder temperatures. We'll have more on that and a check of your forecast plus updates on our current look at severe weather coming up as WCIA 3 News at 6 starts right now.
You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA 3 News at 6.
Obviously does not look like something you want to mess with, right? So take your shelter, get down there right now, just in case this thing decides to produce.
This was the view from Kevin's StormTracker. Less than an hour ago, there were 3 tornado warnings in the Coles, Douglas, and Edgar County areas. Good evening. I'm Brandon Morano.
And I'm Karina Rubio in for Jennifer. Right now, there are only severe thunderstorm and fire weather warnings, along with a tornado watch in our viewing area. Our weather team is tracking the second severe weather event in less than a week. We have team coverage for you tonight. Meteorologist Jacob Dickey is in our weather center, and Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lighty in the StormTracker. First to Jacob, let's recap what's happened so far.
Yeah, you talked about all of the things that are happening here. There's also, and Seth can correct me, been a dust advisory as well. Dust advisory added to the mix here. These storms have had a lot of wind and kicked up some of that dust in fields. That was for Ford and Iroquois County. Now, at this point, the tornado threat, for the most part, I think is off in Indiana here. We still do have a couple of active severe thunderstorm warnings. There are some severe thunderstorm warnings in Ford and Iroquois County, as well as Edgar and Vermilion County. The storms that have prompted those are more off to the east. And so I think momentarily there is a lull in activity for that. Currently, we're watching storms now right down the US 51 corridor. That's going to run from Clinton through Decatur, just passing by Moweaqua, Assumption, and Macon, and then down into Shelby County, where there are some severe thunderstorm warnings in place. And there's been a number of reports of strong gusty winds and even some quarter-size hail with that. Behind this line is clear from the severe weather threat. Lincoln, Taylorville, Springfield, Hillsborough, Jacksonville. The severe threat from thunderstorms is over. However, strong winds on the backside as that dry air moves on through are being reported. We've had wind gusts of 50 to 60 reported in Springfield and Jacksonville. And so that is something that we are keeping an eye on here. Coming up, I think we're going to talk to Kevin a little later in the show. That's the StormTracker now. He's continuing to head towards the next storms. He was by that tornado warning earlier. We have no active tornado warnings at this time, but for the next hour or two, still going to monitor a couple of those storms in the area. Karina, I'll have more on the severe weather threat, a look at your forecast, and some updates on some damage reports that we received. That'll be coming up later on in the show.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Now to an update from Neoga. The school district says they're delaying students returning to the classroom. We showed you the campus was hit with tornado damage. The superintendent says the decision comes after a thorough evaluation of the buildings from architects and engineers. They determined additional measures are needed to ensure safety. The district canceled classes this week, expecting to return next week, Monday. Now it's pushed back to Wednesday, the 26th. High school students will be at the Neoga Community Center, which was previously the elementary school.
Springfield and Crime Stoppers needs help in a car theft. It happened earlier this month at the Pizza Hut on East Sangamon Drive near North 19th Street. Police say the victim parked his car and went inside. When he came out, it was gone. Surveillance video shows 2 men wearing a blue coat and black sweatshirt. If you know anything, you can submit an anonymous tip to Crime Stoppers. The number's on our website, WCIA.com. The governor made his way to Urbana today to meet people directly affected by federal funding cuts impacting farmers and food providers. Solagradia Farm hosted him at their new site, but their excitement over the space has been tainted with uncertainty over how long they'll keep providing services. WCIA 3's Gabriela Mirando live in our newsroom. Gabriela, what has them concerned?
The uncertain future of grant funding is weighing on them. Leadership says they were awarded $90,000 in federal dollars from the USDA. Potential cancellation of that money could force them to cut staff or programs. So LaGuardia has been working for more than a decade growing healthy food to share with community members in need. Within their new space, they've been trying to expand food education and the kinds of produce they grow, but say that under the mission, their mission is now under attack and they are not alone.
We've been building these pieces up in place, and it takes this careful work to get these sustainable pieces in place. But right now we're feeling like we're cut at the knees and unable to continue.
Governor Pritzker says funding cuts at the federal level has people from other sides of the aisle coming to him with concerns. In a hearing last week on the cuts, Republicans called it strictly political in nature. Pritzker was joined by clean energy advocates and farmers telling people to protest the cuts if they want to see change. He and others talked about the tradition and importance of farming in the state, something they don't want to see fail to continue leaving a legacy. Live in the newsroom, Gabriela Mirando, WCIA 3, your local news leader.
All right, Gabriela, thank you.
Some college students deal with food insecurity. What's being done so they don't go hungry?
Plus, thousands of families were in the Capitol today while they're fighting against a new homeschool bill.
All right, Jacob, what do you think things will look like for the rest of the evening here?
Yeah, so we still have a few thunderstorms that we're keeping an eye on out there. Still have some active severe thunderstorm warnings. I think we've pushed the worst activity to the east across the state line. We're going to update you on what to expect here the next couple hours. Plus, yes, some snow may fly. We'll have a look at that forecast coming up after this.
Now, Central Illinois' most accurate forecast with meteorologist Jacob Dickey.
Well, that's a look at our current radar here across the region as we're dealing with some severe weather still across the area. You can see these red boxes to the east of us here. Western Indiana now having some tornado warnings out there. Our Illinois side is just severe thunderstorm warnings, and we'll zoom in a little bit. First off, looking here, Ford, Iroquois, Vermilion, and Edgar counties. Notice those boxes are still there. We're just letting them expire naturally at 6:15. The severe weather threat temporarily over in those areas, but we may not be done yet still for parts of our area. And so that's something that we're watching, mainly because along our front coming on through our dry line, we've seen a couple of other storms be forced and bubbling up here. And that's now from Decatur down towards Dalton City, heading into Moultrie County, and then down into Shelby County. These storms, to me, do not strike me as having a tornado potential at this point. We look at it, there maybe is a little weak rotation, but the issue here is that the atmosphere has been worked over in these areas by earlier storms, and so we're primarily just dealing with storms that the bottoms of them sit a bit higher up in the sky. When your base of the storm is higher, typically don't have a tornado threat with that. You can still, however, get hail and wind. And we've had a number of hail reports. Parts of Decatur have dealt with some quarter-sized hail down to the south and west towards Mount Auburn with that storm coming on through. And still have that severe thunderstorm warning for parts of DeWitt, Piatt, Moultrie, Macon, and northern Shelby counties until 6:45 for some 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-sized hail here. They don't look all that impressive to me, But I know on a day like today, the radar doesn't have to look impressive to give us some of that severe weather that we've been seeing here. And further down than Shelby County, we've got some storms rolling on through. These will be Cowden, Shelbyville now, moving off to the east with a severe thunderstorm warning. That one goes till 6:30 for areas west of Shelbyville. We'll see if they extend that. If so, and you live in that area, you'll get a notice on your WCIA 3 weather app. Our tornado watch goes until 9 o'clock. However, I suspect once that line gets through, we'll cut that back here. The severe threat probably wrapping up even by 7, 8 o'clock, and some of us in the next 15, 20 minutes in the area. So that's something that we'll watch and keep an eye on here. We're going to send it to Seth here in a second. Real quick, I want to show storm reports. There's been a rash of tornadoes reported southwest of Peoria to areas between Peoria and Bloomington, also up towards LaSalle, Peru. We've had some sporadic wind and some wind damage, not only from the severe weather, but even from non-thunderstorm wind gusts that have been coming on through here. You can see those current wind gusts. While storms have cleared Springfield and Jacksonville, Springfield's 51-mile-an-hour gusts right now. And so we may see that wind pick up back tonight. To talk more about tonight, and I don't want to deal with it, Seth, I'm giving you it. Maybe some snow. Is that what you're thinking might happen tonight, Seth?
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunately exactly what we're facing. It's crazy enough because we kind of did the same thing with Friday's storm. We had snow Saturday night into Sunday, and now somehow we're going to do pretty much the exact same thing again. Good thing is it doesn't look like it's going to amount to too much, but it is enough just to kind of maybe irritate us there a little bit. Kind of around I-72 to the north is where your best chances are. Maybe it creeps down to the south just a little bit. As far as accumulation, really not expecting any just with the way the environment has been lately, just a little too warm for the ground to really let too much of that pile up. But after midnight or so, just kind of watch some of those snow showers up to the north, but should be leading to some sunshine as we get later on into the day. Thursday, noticeably cooler, though. We are going to drop down to the mid-40s for your high temperature, maybe watching as some of that precip clears on out. After that, though, wind is going to be the name of the game. Pretty fair weather. Aside from that, though, we just look at the next few days. You see sunny icons, but you notice windy mentioned several times there. That'll be something we have to contend with a little bit, as gusts could calm down maybe a little bit late tomorrow. But then again, by Friday and Saturday, you could see those readings up to about 30 or 40 miles per hour. Once again, one thing I want to bring up really quick, next system is possible as we head on to Saturday night and Sunday. Could be some thunderstorm potential with this one as well. Can't really read too much into it just because we haven't had a whole lot of time to really study that one, kind of take it one event at a time. And we'll wrap up things here with your 7-day forecast. Noticeably quieter and cooler weather here over the next few days. And then as we head on to Saturday and Sunday, that's when it looks like our next system is set to move on in. So Jacob, we'll send it back over to you.
Hey, thanks so much there, Seth. Real quick, we do have Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lighty. He's in the StormTracker. He just passed that grain bin with the big eye on there. We're not going to hear from him now, but if he gets close to the storms later on the show, we'll check in with him and have another check of your forecast as well coming up in just a bit. Don't go anywhere. More news, weather, and sports updates coming up after this. Hey everyone, just wanted to let you know on the stream here, we think our severe weather threat is winding down here. I don't think there's going to be much more added to the board on warnings, and we'll probably see that tornado watch get trimmed back. So we're going to end our digital stream here. We still are in the newscast on WCIA 3 at 6:30. And if anything else changes, though, we will be back. Thanks for following us here at WCIA 3, and we will see you under the storm next